Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in our 5th installment of the NGLCC's LGBTBE Teleconference Series for 2013. As you know, today's I'm Certified Now What call will focus on building your brand as an LGBT business enterprise, especially as we make the final stretch toward our National Business and Leadership Conference taking place in Dallas, Texas this July. As one of the account managers for the NGLCC Supplier Diversity Initiative, I'm thrilled to be on the call with you today as the moderator. I'm the Marcus J. Markle who's been pestering you with messages, or what I like to call small love notes on behalf of the NGLCC family. A moderated Q&A session will follow our discussion today, time permitting. Be sure to email your questions to me at mmarkle@nglcc.org. That's 2 M's, A-R-K-L-E, at nglcc.org. With the subject question as they arise, and we'll do our very best to address them at the end of our discussion. Otherwise, I look forward to answering your questions individually. As a reminder, we are definitely recording the call today, so for those of you who like to use this as a reference, and for those others who weren't able to join us, that'll be available to you by close of business tomorrow on our website. We have a number of businesses joining the call today, which are newly certified and beyond, and fall on a wide-ranging spectrum of capabilities and capacity, from startups to multi-million-dollar companies. So in the next hour, we'll be sharing just the tip of the iceberg, so please be sure to keep in mind that we're here to serve you, and we'll be providing future teleconferences designed for your specific needs. So please don't hesitate to pick up the call and connect with your regional representative, me or Brent. So without further ado, I'm going to briefly highlight our goals for the call, bearing in mind that our primary mission here at the NGLCC is to connect you with further opportunities for business growth, whether it's professional development or ultimately interaction with corporate America and everything in between. So for today, we're going to explore the importance of brand as an LGBTBE, as a company in general, at large, as identity, branding strategies, specifically how to use your certification in marketing and advertising and NGLCC corporate partner engagement opportunities, such as the conference. 2, provide a personal anecdote example to you on successful business practices when engaging corporate partners from Robyn. And 3, gain corporate partner perspective and highlight Pfizer's corporate partner role as an integral element to the NGLCC's mission from Rondu. And finally, briefly describe the many ways in which the 10th National Leadership and Business Conference in Dallas, Texas is a benefit and tool for further growth specifically, and how to build your brand. So let's get started then. Joining me to achieve these goals and share their invaluable insight are 2 very special guests I'm honored to feature and who'll briefly introduce themselves. Robyn?
Yes, thank you, and welcome everybody. I appreciate you all making the time, and God, it's a privilege and an honor to welcome you to the NGLCC. So I'm Robyn Streisand, President and CEO of the Mixx. We are a full-service agency based here in New York City. We are been in business a little over 17 years, so one of those seasoned companies. We have 18 full-time people, and our specialty is really helping companies figure out what their message is, how to visually represent it through all 360 touch points, and make sure that we deliver with quality and excellence so that they stay true to who they say they are and what their goals and objectives are. So that's who we are, and I'm really excited to be on the call today, and you could always reach out to me there after the call if there's anything that we could do to help or support you, whatever stage you are in your company. We're totally a resource that's available to help, and I've been a certified NGLCC supplier, I think, for 8 years, and I've been a WeBank certified business for actually 12 years. So been around the block a couple times and always willing and able to help you guys wherever you're at. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, in addition to being certified LGBTB for that many years, Robyn has also been appointed to a 2-year role as chair on the Supplier LGBTBE subcommittee of the NGLCC's Procurement Council, which is made up of our corporate partner representatives and 11 other LGBTBEs. And the subcommittee is specifically tasked with overseeing the NGLCC's efforts in engagement and programming for you all. So that's another really great rock star accomplishment.
Well, thank you there, Marcus. Of
course. I gotta show the love there. And Rondu, of course.
Hello, everyone. This is Rondu Vincent, and I am the manager of Supplier Diversity at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. We are, as many may know, the largest research-based pharmaceutical company in the world, operating in over 150, countries, 100,000 employees. Pfizer is one of those companies that are very particular about their brand, and hence, I'm particular about my brand. I've been a sourcing manager, commodity manager for a number of years prior to taking over the supply diversity role. I felt this was a good next step to take the sourcing and procurement background and evolve it into a position where I can help other suppliers and entrepreneurs, live the dream, as I always say. When someone asks me, how am I doing, I always say I'm living the dream. And Robyn which is Robyn Streisand, she has my back on that, holistically. I'm not a brand expert, if you will, but however, I do live my brand, my personal brand, every day. And that's why I thought this call would be, particularly interesting to participate in. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that I like to kind of, how I like to put myself out there, this call that I'm on right now is also adding to my brand, getting out there, touching the newly certified suppliers, and ensuring that I'm helping foster the NGLCC's mission, helping to certify and connect certified suppliers with the corporation side. So, I just want to make sure that I'm a resource for you guys as well, as Robyn said. After the call, feel free to reach out. You'll have my contact information, as I'm sure Mr. Marcus there will send out to everyone. But let's have a good time, and hopefully we can impart some knowledge here.
Absolutely. And Rondu, just for everyone else, too, has been a longtime champion over the last several years. He's been instrumental in providing generous support as Pfizer's representative, which has resulted in Pfizer's financial support of our scholarship program that's available to all of you. And in partnership with us, Pfizer signed on to the amicus brief in support of repealing DOMA. So it's just one of the other stellar examples of Rondu's support of the NGLCC and the tremendous wealth of folks that we have in our community. So great. Well, thank you for that introduction. It's amazing. Let's go ahead and get started. Robyn, I was hoping that you could frame sort of our discussion today about building your brand and what initial thoughts you have, some strategies, maybe what is brand, why is it important, and some tips.
Yeah. So the thing about building a brand is that there's a couple of, I think, key criteria. One, it's being authentic. Two, making sure it's a reflection of what your vision is for your company. And three, making sure that in every touch point, the message, the look and the feel, and everything that is said is consistent and is in line with who you are in the moment and in the future. And so oftentimes when we work with companies, they don't really know what their company's vision is or what their real mission and purpose are. And it's always good to as a stake in the ground, be able to at least out of the gate be able to up and down the elevator say, my name is Robyn Streisand. We are a full-service agency, and we help companies communicate their message through 360 touch points. So that's a 15-second, in a nutshell, who we are, what we do, and the key to all of it is bringing a sense of passion and energy to all the conversations from beginning to end. And I think oftentimes people get stuck with this because they don't know how, or they don't know who to go to, or they feel they don't have the money and they're a startup, or they're this or they're that. And, there's a lot of work that could be done internally on your own through an answering of a couple of simple questions. And it's okay to not know, and it's okay to be afraid and, not be sure and to change the course as you go, but you got to start somewhere, and you got to put a stake in the ground and define some of the key variables up front. So I think it's a good place to start the conversation when it comes to whether it's building the brand from scratch, refreshing a brand that exists that might need a little bit of refreshing, just given the nature of the business, the offering of the business, what's happening out in the competitive landscape. So just a good place to start.
Excellent. Rondu, do you have any sort of tips as well from, your perspective, from your corporate partner perspective in building your own brand and sort of with Pfizer as well?
Yeah. Well, I think that, being true to yourself and knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at is always been the key to my success. I'm not somebody that's like a yes girl, so as an opportunity might come my way, it's not like, oh, I could do that or I could do that. It's really staying true to your course. And I think when you meet with corporations, you have to, I would not only have like a credentials presentation that kind of outlines your story about who you are, what your services are, what add value you could bring, but also to be able to always give the corporation like a summary, like a one-sheeter that becomes a tool that should they have an opportunity that comes down the pipeline, there's an at-a-glance, like almost like a cheat sheet that they could refer to that keeps you top of mind, that's, designed in a particular way that stands out, and it's very clear to them about what you offer. I think oftentimes people try to shove so much stuff into one slide or in one page, and, oftentimes what your real core competency is sometimes gets lost, and as a result of that, you might miss out on opportunities.
Right. Ron, do you have? Yeah, go ahead.
Certainly, and I think Robyn really defined it very, very well as far as when you figure out and understand who you are as a person, as a business, you quickly understand who you are not, and that's kind of where Robyn's going to as well, is that you define what your core capabilities are, so you're not providing a wish list of things that you wish you could do, but you're focusing and honing in on your core competencies and what you really can do. I think I find the best suppliers for me when they approach Pfizer or when they want to do business with us, and they want to take themselves from being a simple supplier, because suppliers, they get kicked out of supply chains on a daily basis, but strategic partners are those suppliers that really stay around for the long term, right? You give examples of strategic suppliers, strategic partners, the IBMs of the world, and the Accentures of the world. Those suppliers are ingrained to the Pfizer culture because they consistently redefine and add value. And I think that's where a lot of smaller businesses or diverse businesses, they're chasing the check and not chasing the long-term partnership. Yeah. And that's where they fall into a pit, kind of a hole. What we want, of course, at Pfizer is to make sure that we are building long-standing, multi-year, multi-million-dollar engagements, because that is really what's going to help us both transform our businesses. You transform yours, and you're going to provide services that help Pfizer transform ours. So really honing in on your core competencies, what you do well, and making that be a value proposition. And I will say this. One of the unique things and interesting things about working with entrepreneurs like yourselves and working with, non-mainstream suppliers is that you're not only selling your services, but you're selling yourself. Many of you have worked for large corporations at one point in time or the other and thought, hey, you know what? Why am I doing this for this, company when I can do this on my own, do it better, do it, more efficiently, or whatever your reason or rationale for going out on your own? You believe in yourself, and you have to have that confidence when you come into the corporation side to make sure that you're not only selling your organization, your capabilities, but you're selling yourself, because you are the visionary behind that. And I will say this, to Robyn's point, I think that's one of the things that has our relationship consistently evolving, because, if I call Rob and say, hey, I have this opportunity, she'll say straight up, hey, you know what, that's in my wheelhouse, or you know what, that's out of scope for me, but here's somebody else, or pass it on to someone else. She's true to who she is and not going to try to stretch beyond what our core capabilities are. And that keeps the respect level and open and honesty. And my final comment on this particular subject, we have something called straight talk at Pfizer, where it's just authentic. Lay your cards on the table, and let's have an adult conversation. Let's be very, very authentic with each other. I think when you're having those authentic conversations, those real conversations, you can progress to the next level. But as long as people are kind of not, being fake or kind of, you're always trying to please the client at your own expense, hey, I'm all for the adage of the customer is always right, but let's not take it overboard. Make sure you're still being true to yourself and really holding your ground, because honestly, we don't always know what we want as a corporation, and we look for your authentic, real opinion. Even if it's against what our strategy is, make that be heard, because we are not the know-it-alls for every single thing. That's why we seek out strategic partners and suppliers like yourselves. So really be authentic to yourself. Stand up for yourself. Never be afraid to kind of challenge the status quo. And I think that's what a lot of the suppliers that I deal with have done, because that's why they're on their own in the first place.
Yeah. Those are all great points. I picked up on their authenticity and being, honest. And it brings to mind this sort of idea of where is that fine line where, you don't want to come across as, salesperson, that sort of stereotypical, telemarketer kind of perspective. What's sort of the key to a good first impression, to a successful pitch that you could recommend, in addition to being authentic and honest? We do have folks who are very honest about wanting to do business, but what is that extra sort of challenges that you see in other folks and how they might go about having a solution to that?
Well, one of the key, things that I did when I first became a certified supplier, it's a little overwhelming, right? You have over 80 corporate partners. Your services pretty much, let's say, apply to all of them in some way, shape, or form, and all you could think of is, oh, my God, now I'm certified and I'm going to get work from all these people, right? That's like the fantasy of it. The truth of it is that I picked 5 people. I picked 5 companies where I went to work on those people. I understood their DNA. I knew where they went. I knew where they grew up. I did my homework. I know about their career progression. I know the things that they like to do on their free time, and I built a relationship with them. Now, that's not to say that I didn't look for other new business opportunities in addition to them, but those 5 people were my 5 people, like my life depends on it. And what literally occurred over the course of the years is I have such strong relationships now with them all that they've become brand advocates of my company. So as they are now out there and somebody might come to them and say, oh, we're looking for a diverse supplier, and, they do a lot of strategy work. They do kick-ass creative, and they know how to execute 360, they'll actually recommend us as a contender. And so start small, get to know a couple of people really good, and then as a result of that, it'll have a ripple effect that will give you the show-up factor. I know for me, I'm going to show up at that conference in Dallas, and I'm probably going to know 90% of all the people that are there, and it's because I did it very thoughtfully. I started small, and it just grows from there. And, you got to take your time and not try to sell something, but try to get to know people. And it's through that relationship building. And, I think people take relationship building like it's cliche. And, just because you take people out to dinner isn't relationship building. It might be a facet of it or a byproduct of it that you might go out to dinner. But I'm you got to get in people's worlds. What makes them tick? What's their pain point? What are their challenges in having them achieve their goals at their jobs? And so who can you be in the matter to help them solve their problems versus you being consumed and focused on selling your services? So it becomes more about them than about you.
And so knowing your audience sounds really like the key takeaway there, where you're talking about building those sincere relationships. And I wonder if both you and Rondu can sort of use your relationship, as the Mixx helping Pfizer's with their message as a case study on a successful building of that relationship, because as we know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon with building those relationships. So I was hoping if you all could do sort of a deeper dive into your relationship and how the success of the Mixx and Pfizer's partnership came about.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. And I'll say this. I'll start off, and just closing out what Robyn was saying a minute ago, but people do underestimate the relationship building process. And I'll just pose this question, do you truly believe that people do business still to this day with who they know and trust? And you have to really ask yourself that, because if, when you get into a working relationship or a business relationship with a corporation or an individual at a corporation, again, if you're trying to be a strategic partner, you're trying to be around for the long haul. And that takes you and that person getting along from a working standpoint and from a personal standpoint.
Yeah.
Because if that person doesn't feel you genuinely have their back, that you genuinely are not going to make them look bad, they're not going to want to do business with you. They're not going to have consistent meetings with you that's going to take to get you over that hump. They're not going to give you the honest feedback if you don't win an opportunity to give you feedback to make sure that the next opportunity you get closer or even win. They're not going to want to take that time and invest in you if they really have there's really no camaraderie there or any personal stake there. So I will always say that, keep that fundamental business concept in front of your mind, is that people still do business with who they know and trust. Yeah. With that said, 5-6 years ago, when Rob came in, to Pfizer, she came in like a lightning rod. And if you know Robyn, she's high energy, hardcore all the time, but with substance, with energy. You feel the passion she has for not only the work that she's doing, but for the people that she's responsible at the Mixx. And ultimately, that all transcends in making sure, because of those two elements, that she hits a home run for you as the client, as the corporation. And that first conversation was just wow. She has a lot of skin in the game. She's ready to hit a home run. But she took a liking to the point where she said, listen, I'm never going to make you look bad within Pfizer. You're the reason I'm in at Pfizer. I'm not going to make you look bad. And that still stands to this day. Whenever she takes on an opportunity, she's like, listen, I'm not going to let you down. Screw everything else. I'm not going to let you down because you're the reason I'm here. She opens up when she speaks at Pfizer or meets new people at Pfizer that I don't even know. She makes sure that they know, hey, Rondu is the reason I'm here, and I'm humbled to be here, and let's make it happen, because I want to make him look like a rock star. That's that personal skin in the game that she's invested into all the products she does. And that is, again, the reason why now, when she's here at Pfizer, we spun off our animal health. It was an easy no-brainer to throw over there, and she was able to win her first project out the gate with our animal health division, which is now Zoetis. And I have no problem recommending Robyn to anybody. And again, we talk about personal brand. In my world, you're only as good as the last supplier you recommend when you're talking about the respect level from your peers. Yeah. But I make sure that I don't recommend anyone that I don't feel is going to hit a home run and is a rock star. And I'm comfortable with making that happen for Robyn. So that's just kind of, where we came from and how we've evolved to this day. And obviously the work in between has been stellar. She's been rocking out projects for Pfizer and Zoetis and hitting home runs. So, again, the personal relationship started. We built a relationship. We become good friends. But at the fundamentals, the root of this is that she always has skin in the game and has my back on anything that she takes related to Pfizer or anyone that I happen to recommend the Mixx to.
Now, I want to underline, the other side of the coin to what Rondu's saying is it's about education inside the corporation. So I take responsibility for the fact that I am a full-service agency. I just happen to be certified in 2 categories. So that doesn't give me anything special. That doesn't make me anything different or better or worse. It gave me just another opportunity to get inside the company. Because of the relationship with Rondu as it started, and because it's not my sole focus to go through that supplier diversity channel. I started mining the playing field of other people within the company. And it is, in fact, the truth that the capabilities that the Mixx brought to the table really withstood what the client was looking for, and it was an opportunity to educate them on how I got to Pfizer.
Robyn, I think she got disconnected. Rondu, are you still on the line?
I am still here, my friend.
Okay, well, actually,
we become brand ambassadors of what supplier diversity is, explaining the value of what it means to the business, and so now it's it takes on a whole nother aspect to what you all of us, it's almost like being certified is more than being certified in what you do as your core competency. It becomes kind of like your responsibility to educate people along the way, what it is, how it works, and why it's of value to the business. And I find that oftentimes, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the times when I get up to the brand teams or to the marketers, which are my prospects, they don't even know what supplier diversity is. And so, I'm always about having people's back. So if it comes back to, going into every meeting, letting them know, when I give them the intro about who the Mixx is, I tell them I was brought in here through Rondu Vincent. He heads up supplier diversity, and he was the catalyst for change about, getting the Mixx in here and, giving me the freedom to, because he vetted me out and because he saw the quality of my product, I then took it upon myself to actually have these meetings happen, and the whole thing really works full circle. And at the same time, people are getting educated about what supplier diversity is, what it means, what it represents, and you start to connect the insides of the corporation together, which is oh my God, the greatest gift as a supplier is to have people now meet Rondu through me, because they didn't know who he was beforehand because they're so big. And so it creates this level of connectivity and almost value add from us as suppliers because of who we are. And, you can't buy that in the store. So it's a differentiator about you or yourself or me and my company, because my company now, every single person kind of carries the same spirit and the same energy and passion. So it's not only coming from the top. It's left and right, bottom up, and sideways. So it's really important as you, figure out your paths inside about building those relationships with those people and, being there for them in the good and the bad and making sure that you know what they need when they need it, and, it will cascade out for you, I promise.
That's a great point. And speaking to that, so Robyn and Rondu have, you have a wonderful relationship. Where did it spark? And in terms of sort of what we as an organization do for those folks on the call, and specifically within the context of the national conference,
yes,
what sorts of opportunities can be seized with relation to building your brand and those tools that are available that you maybe took advantage of through the NGLCC? And was it through a matchmaker that you met Rondu? Was it through our corporate partner contact? How did you initially create and spark that relationship?
I want to say it was, God, it's been so long. Do you know?
It was a conference, and I'm not sure if it was the NGLCC or another Supply Diversity Conference, to be quite honest with you. But I know we were sitting around, and I was having a conversation.
I think I came up to you. It was like one of those breakfasts.
Exactly, and we're sitting around the conversation, and Ron comes in, gangbusters, and just took advantage of the opportunity, right? I'm with Pfizer, with some other corporations. Hey, I'm Robyn, and this is my business, right? Which you need to do, right? At the end of the day, when you're going to have all these corporations, and since a lot of you guys are newly certified, you're going to have all these corporations, at the national conference. You're going to see them in formal settings within matchmakers, or you're going to see them within, lunches, breakfasts, dinners, or receptions, or you're going to see them hanging out at the bar. You may see them at the gym. You're going to have an opportunity to meet and greet a lot of these supplier diversity professionals or procurement professionals from a lot of corporations, right? And I'll say this. My one key part of advice, and Rob saw me at a casual event, but at all of your interactions, take advantage of understanding who you're approaching. If you're formally approaching somebody, or if you formally get matchmakers at one of the matchmakers, make sure that your homework is done. Because even though Robyn didn't know Rondu Vincent, she knew Pfizer, and that was the differentiator. And I think those are some of the best connections that I have when I'm at a conference. When someone comes up to me, they don't need to know me. You'll get to know me, and it'll be all good. But at least if I work for Pfizer, you know some facts about Pfizer. You know where you specifically add value to Pfizer. And I think that is, those are some of the best moments. So make sure that you take your time when you come to the national conference. And I hope that everyone on this call is actually attending the national conference. We want to make sure that you maximize, what the NGLCC is here for is making sure those connections happen. So I hope to see you guys there. That's the plug for NGLCC, by the way. But
I did not make them say that, by the way, to everyone
you really did.
Call. I did not force them to say that.
You did not at all. But it just goes to my point that, you're going to have all these, you're going to be like a kid in a candy store, have all these corporations around you. Make sure you do your diligence. Make sure you come focused. NGLCC has a list of their corporate members. Maybe you go through it. If there's 80 companies on that list, you say, you know what, I think these 10 or 15 are within my wheelhouse. Come prepared. So when you meet them, whether it's a formal setting, or informal, you already know, hey, this is what my company does, and this is how I can add value specifically to Pfizer, specifically to Macy's, specifically to Diageo, wherever the corporate partner is, because those are meaningful conversations and the conversations that last, because you're not just coming up with a cookie-cutter approach to selling yourself, because we all have different needs. We all may utilize your services, but we're going to utilize them in a different fashion. We are a researcher and a manufacturer of pharmaceutical products versus Macy's, who sells clothing, right? So you want to make sure that approach is a lot different, and you know exactly and specifically where you can add value within my supply chain. And again, that is taking yourself from a supplier to a strategic partner. That is one of the ways and one of the steps that you take to make that evolution.
Yep.
Robyn, I was hoping that you could also speak to, what Rondu was saying about telling your personal narrative and just developing that story about you succinctly and sort of so that it captures the attention of someone. And, looking back at your company as a full-service agency, what were some challenges that you've witnessed and sort of the things that you should avoid doing when, and Rondu, feel free to chime in as well as, what are some of the things that you've seen that may not work that sort of rubbed off the wrong way?
Yep. Well, I have a tendency to be a little aggressive, and I'm very focused, and I hate that two-letter word called N-O. And so, and I think it's also something that comes with age. So, I'm somebody that's just turned 50, and, you have to start to really own up to where you got to pull it back, where you can amp it up, and it's something that comes with experience. I think that the key to leveraging the conference, right, is just touching people, but following up after is everything. Remember that we are like ants, right? There's all these suppliers. So these corporate guys are there, and they have people like us coming at them all day, all night, for 4 days. It's a lot, right? So the idea is to just touch them in a way that leaves them with who you are, and you'll follow up with them when you get back, and whatever your personal touch is, whether you're a premium company or IT or creative or fleet or message, whatever it is, you have to just know that when you're there, they're not only about you, right? You'll see when you get into kind of like the trade show environment, there's so many people and so much happening at one time that, it's hard to be unforgettable. So it's leaving somebody with something that's of value to them. I've been there, done that, about bringing premiums or leave behinds or flash drives or, none of that stuff works. So save your money and invest more so on taking the time to know who your top 10 prospects are going to be. And then tell them something about their business that they don't know, and that why your business is something that could help them achieve that pain point and give them some peace of mind about it. And if you could focus on things like that, because in the beginning, I went hog wild. I spent all kinds of money going to the conferences, buying tables, doing this, and I'm not saying that it didn't help lay down foundation about who the Mixx was. But if I had people like me talking to people like me 10 years ago, I would have done it very different. I would have focused on like more substance around what matters, about, knowing where people fit in the organization and, what their pain points are and what their wants and needs are, and just really having a little bit of compassion and, realizing that you're an asset to them and that you're willing to go above and beyond to help them. I didn't have that. I had not like used car dealer, but like kid in the candy store, like, oh my God, you're all my clients now because, I'm going to take everybody out. It's not that way, right? It's really not. And so it's that everlasting impression. It's doing your homework. It's being consistent. And most importantly, it's the follow-up, that handwritten note, not that email, right? How many do you get of those a day? Delete, 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 delete. Right, you want to stand out. You want to be like, remember, I was the one that talked to you about how I'm going to save you 20% on your IT. Can I come in and have a conversation with you further about how I really envision this happening for your company? It's like being direct but being authentic and talking about the value prop versus, cocktails and listen, all of that goes with it. We know it. We're seasoned professionals. But the more you know about them and their business, the more value it'll be in the long run.
That's a great point. Rondu, do you have, because I'm thinking specifically shifting from the abstract and more to the specifics within the context of our conference, sort of those instances where folks will be able to connect and interact with our corporate partners, and not just corporate partners, but with each other, right?
Yes.
I noticed that, sometimes some folks on the call can be a little bit intimidated because they're not quite yet set up with the resources available to service maybe a prime contract. But in terms of teaming up with folks, I know you mentioned a thank you card as a follow-up. What are some of the things, like today is June 4th. It's Tuesday right now. What can sort of callers be doing right after they get off the call in terms of our corporate partner contacts and laying the seeds in preparation if they're going to come join to conference? What are some of the things you wish you would have done leading up to conference?
I would go to the site. I'd print out the list. I'd highlight your top 10. I'd know what the CEO's top 4 initiatives or goals and objectives are. I'd know what the chief procurement officer cares about, and I'd know who is the supplier diversity person in each of those 10 companies. Then I would write a note. I might even send an email in advance and say, hi, my name is Robyn Streisand. I'm a newly certified NGLCC supplier. I've been doing my homework on Pfizer. I understand. I'm hopeful that you are attending the conference. Perhaps you and I could get together and just have a conversation about who my company is, what we do. It's like more of the proactive approach instead of waiting till you get there. Or, just some outreach. It's not a big deal. It takes 5 minutes to kind of craft a thoughtful, direct note, and at least to your top 10. And it could even be so much so that there is such an appetite to meet NGLCC certified businesses that you might find that these folks might want to actually set up having a coffee with you in advance. So last year, I came home with 3 RFPs out of the conference. And, it's about the persistence, it's the proactive, it's about, I look forward to seeing you this year, like, I haven't talked to you since X, what have you guys been up to? Let me know if there's anything in advance that we could talk about that you might be having some challenges with, and, I could do my homework in advance, and it makes the time that we are together more valuable. It's not like I'm asking for anything. I'm just like trying to connect with somebody in a way that, had me reach out to them and, made them feel special because I'm looking forward to seeing them. And I've been writing to people about the conference, for months already, like just keeping connected. So it's printing out the corporations, understanding who the players are, and how your company can add value to those companies in particular. And then reaching out in advance, introducing yourself and letting them know that you're looking forward to meeting them at the conference, and perhaps you can grab a cup of coffee or a cocktail after one of the sessions. That stuff goes a long way.
And real quick, I'll give you a hero, a zero, and then a strategy for the conference, right? So let's start with the zero. So in 2007, when I joined Pfizer, I went to my first conference for Pfizer, and it was a WeBank conference, right? So I'm at the conference, and suppliers are coming up. This one young lady comes up and said, "Hey, this is what I do. I do marketing, and I would love to work on Listerine for you guys, or I would love to work on Zyrtec or something." And I said, "Whoa, Johnson & Johnson's down the lane here, because we sold that consumer business to J&J over a year ago." And it just shows that she was coming up with the assumption we still own that without doing her homework. Had she done her homework, she would have clearly saw in the press that we sold this for, $15 billion or whatever it was. We're a publicly traded company. The knowledge is out there. But again, she didn't do her homework, so it was kind of an embarrassing situation. And when you have a situation like that, it's kind of like, damn, do I really want to have this supplier, internally with some of my stakeholders or people that I trust within Pfizer, if they're not willing to do their homework before they even approach? So that was the zero. So in 2009, 2010, we acquired Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, right? It was a big acquisition by Pfizer. And prior to the acquisition, it was just announced. I'm at another conference. Supplier comes up and says, "Hey, the Wire, and I was on your quarterly earnings call. I understand that you guys you're waiting for the FCC to clear the filing to buy Wyeth. In the event that happens, hey, this is what I do. I merge and integrate financial systems, which you're going to need when this happens," because they knew it was a huge undertaking. That supplier ended up getting a contract at Pfizer to do just that, because they came up, had their diligence done, homework was done, knew exactly how their offering fit our current situation. They were on our earnings call, they were on the wires, understanding who Pfizer was and what transition we were going through at the time. Fantastic approach. Now, here's a strategy that I'll give you, and I take this and I steal this from one of my current suppliers, Mr. Gene Waddy of Diversity. He's a diverse supplier that he's a CEO. He methodically goes through with diligence the attendee list for a conference. When he gets to that conference, he's laser focused, and he walks around. Once he leaves a booth, he immediately meets in the hallway with his director of marketing. And by the time he walks back into the expo hall, there's an email in that potential client's email box about precisely what they spoke about. So he's not even waiting to get back to the ranch, get back to his room. He's seizing the opportunity because he knows we all carry our BlackBerries. He's being proactive to that degree. He's having a conference. Hey, so this is what we spoke about. I want you to follow up. This is the contact they gave me. Make sure you send an email ASAP. His strategy is a great strategy. He took his company from being a startup 8 years ago now, to over $110 million company because his diligence. And he attributes all that business coming from attending diverse conferences and his approach. Now, he had to go through a lot of ups and downs before he found something that worked and had a rhythm. But now that's one of his key differentiators when he's at a conference because he doesn't want to get overwhelmed, get back to the ranch, I lost the business card, or I forgot what we spoke about, misplaced my notes. He's seizing the opportunity right then and there. And I will tell you, I go to some of the biggest conferences of supply diversity in the country, in the world. And you'll be surprised. I may meet, 500, 600 suppliers at a conference. The amount that actually follow up, maybe 10, right? And you do the math, right? That's a very, very small percentage out of all the folks that I actually meet at these conferences. And it could be for a number of reasons. They, simply lost my contact info, forgot they even met me. Whatever that is, he takes that element out of the equation quickly and foremost.
Excellent. Those are a lot of amazing, amazing pieces of advice. And Robyn, if you can help me too, and Rondu, I'm going to sum up because knowing that we have about 10 minutes left, I want to open it up to Q&A. So if you can email your questions to me with the subject question, and then my email is mmarkle@NGLCC. I'm the person who sent out the email initially. So that's mmarkle@nglcc.org. Be sure to get them. But in the meantime, I was hoping to sort of come up with an action step list, and if you all can help me sort of work through that and see if I got this, because a lot of information is on today, and I want to make sure we capture that. So one is be authentic, but also be simplistic, right, with your message, and make sure that you're focused. You pick 5 target corporations. You know your audience, right, like that example with the Listerine.
Yep.
That's incredible. And Robyn mentioned a lot of building those sincere relationships and following up with that handwritten thank you card to make that impression, that personable impression. Is there anything that we can sort of add to that? I know that you said sort of looking at the corporate partner list. Everyone on the call who's a certified LGBTBE has access to the database for that information. Is there anything else that, some of those last-minute things?
I would also get to know what suppliers are there, people that you could partner with. So let's say, for somebody like me, I'm somebody that, could put on like a big presence about like who we are. But at the end of the day, the Mixx is a small company. We're 18 people, right? So although how I might talk about us might give the perception of large and big, we're not. And so we've been really focusing on developing strong relationships with other partners in the marketing and advertising space so that when an opportunity may come up that we might not necessarily have expertise in what I would call best in class in other areas of the business, whether it's experiential or PR or mobile, that I could reach out to one of my partners. So, for example, we work with this company called L7s, right? And so they are my go-to resource around digital, around mobile, and so I just count on them like my life depends on it. And that came out of years of going to the conference and seeing them, and, I see them over there. Are they my competitor or are they a partner? And, it's about the same thing with the corporations, about getting to know people. And you'll be surprised that now I have best-in-class people that I work with, that I call on opportunities when I see the bigger picture in front of me that, me as a sole proprietor couldn't really get on my own, although I might think in my mind that I could get it and have it and win it. But at the end of the day, the client's got to feel that I have the bandwidth, the resources, the expertise, the case studies, and everything else that goes along with it. So know who the suppliers are. You'd be surprised who's in your backyard. And then it becomes a two-way pipeline, right? Because then they might have an opportunity where they'll bring you in. And so before you know it, you have this collaborative, like, energy going where it serves so many purposes. It serves the client, right, because now you're able to provide more value by virtue of individual companies coming together. 2, you get to collaborate with each other and you have a go-to resource both ways. And 3, everybody wins.
Right.
So, I mean, know who's coming from your hometown. Get to know them, whether it's through your local chamber or, through any of the organizations that, might be directly related with the corporations. Like, all the corporations have what's called their employee resource groups, and they do these LGBT events all the time. So as you get to know the supplier diversity person, also perhaps getting to know who heads up a company's ERG is also another way to really get to the source of how to get into the company. And knowing all this stuff is stuff that nobody knew about 10 years, I swear to God, like I'm telling you right now. I mean, people did not know that these were different ways and avenues around how to penetrate the corporate machine.
Right, which is such an interesting point, which comes into or marries really well with the question that we had come in, which is, what is the unique factor of being a certified LGBT business enterprise in the NGLCC? What is that defining edge? Does it give you that leg up? Any final thoughts on that, Rondu or Robyn? And then we're going to go ahead and close it out.
Yeah, let me touch on that really quickly. From me being a procurement person, with a background, first and foremost, I would say this. What the certification does, it gets you a seat at the table so your voice and your capabilities can be heard, right? You will never, at least within Pfizer, you will never win an opportunity because you're a diverse supplier. That is simply to get you a seat at the table, right? IBM is a household name. They can walk into any corporation, have a sit down with the CFO or CIO, whomever, right? This gives you that similar access because traditionally smaller business, let's face it, are overlooked. Whether it's size, scale, whatever prejudice may be against a smaller business within a large corporation, they're typically overlooked. That's why Supplier Diversity is here. That's why it's progressive, is to get you a seat at the table. So that's what I would say. I mean, you can, you'll see at the conference in a couple months, where would you personally have access to 80 of the largest corporations in the world in one area? So that is what it gets you that access. Now, what you do with that access is totally up to you guys and how you take the tips that we've given you here, take some of the coaching that NGLCC provides, and put them into action. But plain and simple, it gives you the access that traditionally you would not probably have, or it would take you a long time to get.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Robyn, do you have any sort of final thoughts?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because, I want to be clear that it's not the key, right? It's not the key to the gate that gets you in, right? It's another point of access. And I'm telling you like it is. Nothing, you get nothing. There is no, gift with purchase now that you're diverse. But that said, when we talked about earlier about understanding what the goals and objectives are of the corporation, right? It's understanding where they are. Are they making their numbers around their LGBT spending? And because you're a certified supplier that's by the NGLCC, that you can help them achieve their goals by working with you. But it's not going to be the thing that has them give you that contract. You might be able to be considered because you're a diverse supplier, and when there's an RFP that comes out in a particular category, that you're on the list, and so because you're on the list and because you're certified, you might be able to receive that RFP. It doesn't mean it's the right RFP for you or you've been vetted as such or anything like that. But because you are certified, you might get it. Me, I have an not like an ego, but I have it like I can win this. I know it's like, a mindset. And so, like, for example, with BMS, we had an opportunity to pitch on the strategy for the BMS.com website. We got that because of our relationship with Tara Spann, who heads up Supplier Diversity. Now, would I have gotten that RFP if it wasn't for her? Hell no. I was going up against all these big boys. But at the end of the day, was I a good fit for the project? Not, who am I to say? Because you know what I'm going to say. But at the end of the day, I brought in partners in order to pitch that business, and it's something that the client wasn't comfortable with. And you know what? I respect that. But, it wasn't so much about winning. It was more of we were at the table.
Right.
And that, to me, was worth more than anything in the whole wide world. And it's like the fruit of your efforts, like paying off. And I can't even describe what that kind of feeling's like.
Right. And for those of you on the call, actually, who haven't yet taken part in our new orientation process, in which we'll go over the additional tools available to you to help build your brand, as Rondu and Robyn have mentioned today, such as the database with corporate partner contacts. Robyn and Rondu, for example, are in that database available to you today in terms of following up with today's call, which they've graciously, let us know that they are that resource there for you. In that orientation process, please stay tuned because we'll be conducting that in several in the next 2 weeks, and we'll basically be going over all the other engagement opportunities that really we do here to provide you with the visibility and support that you deserve, whether it's spotlighting you as an LGBTBE on our website, having you be a part of our induction ceremony, which is taking place at the conference, another way to again, have access, recognition, and visibility. And the rest of these series, by the way, have been, the rest of the series of these calls have been scheduled already, so keep your calendar open. The next one is June 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern, or you can return at the end of each month to our website to listen in on the recordings for those of you who have client meetings, et cetera. They'll have different themes, especially related to conference. So next one, for example, on June 19th, we'll again delve really deeply into the matchmaker sessions that Rondu and Robyn spoke about. What to do, how to do it, how to prepare. So thank you so much to Robyn, really genuinely, and Rondu.
Yes, our
for all
pleasure.
It's really, truly inspiring, and we're sincerely grateful for your support. And, any last thoughts, Rondu and Robyn, before we part ways? And
well, I want to just offer, you guys can reach out to me at any time. It's Robyn with a Y at the Mixx, 2 X's, NYC.com, always available. And please come say hi to me at the conference.
And I'm going to echo that. Just my email address is Rondu, RONDU.Vincent at Pfizer.com. Please feel free to reach out. I hope to see each and every one of you guys at the conference. We will be there. We'll be there in full tow with a couple of Pfizer colleagues. So make sure that you guys don't be shy and come over and approach. We're cool guys, cool folks to know. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You all are pretty amazing rock stars, I will say that. Thank you so much again to all the callers on the line as well for joining us and asking your questions. If I didn't get to them, please know that I will. I know some of you asked for a conference list of corporate partners that will be joining us, so I'll be sure to get that out to you. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all in Dallas, and if not then, please return back to the website. It's a resource there for you. You all are vibrant members of our community, so thank you.
Hey, Marcus, one more thing. You guys, have fun. Have fun at the conference, right? Like, have fun. It's really important.
Yes, and there will be plenty of instances to have fun. We're going to have a reception at the Perot Museum, the Nature and Science Museum, and a lot of other fun things planned. So really, really, if you're able to make that investment, please do so. It's a great centerpiece to our programming. It's a great rate for our small businesses. So, excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.